Hi, I'm CraigSteffen, and I've spent the last 3 years of my life on a quest for truth. I always thought that I had a really interesting relationship with the truth. I thought that justice was a good thing. I thought governments that focused on truth were a good thing. And I always enjoyed journalism that seemed as unbiased as possible. But then I realized that we have a different relationship with that kind of macro truth than we often do with micro truth. Micro truth being that kind of truth that affects us personally in our experience, in our inner thoughts, in our relationships, in our family histories. We treat that truth sometimes differently than we do the macro truth. Why is it that we deal with micro-truth differently? This is a question I've been asking myself, and I think that some of the answers might be things like fear, or bitterness, or anger, or denial, or not being given permission by the people around us to seek or discover truth. And in this 3-year journey, I've discovered that there are scars that live within each of us that affect the way we perceive what the truth is. And as one goes after seeking truth, one also finds that it can be costly. In my own journey, I spent 3 years of my life in intensive research trying to discover the facts of my own childhood. I was abandoned at the age of 2. Adopted at the age of 4, and lived most of my life understanding that I was adopted, but not knowing why I needed to be. And so as I spent these 3 years of intensive research and traveled thousands of miles and spent tens of thousands of dollars to discover truth, I have many of the mysteries in my life solved. I know now the truths that I sought. But I've also discovered that truth can be hurtful. It's not always as kind to us as we'd like it to be. And in my own story, I discovered that there was physical and perhaps sexual abuse. I discovered that there was abandonment not just by one parent, but by both parents. I discovered that there was malnutrition, mistreatment, being alone, being lonely. All of these things affected me in a deep way. But I've discovered that in the seeking of truth, the hurtfulness that is there is overcome by knowing what the truth was. It's the not knowing that causes the pain. It's the not knowing that consumes the inner peace. I didn't know anything about my biological family, my mother, my father, my siblings, and I certainly didn't know anything about the situations that they were experiencing that led to my own family history. But shining light on the truth has created serious benefits in my life. Inner healing for me, healing in relationships that were long fractured, healing for others. I've shared my story with many people. I've talked about my story with hundreds of people. And since my book was released, thousands of people have read my story. And most of them have contacted me to say that they have found their own healing. And so finding our own inner peace, finding our own micro-truth can profoundly affect all of those around us. I've discovered that each person has their own story to tell, their own mysteries to solve, their own relationship with their micro-truth to come to peace with. So I would encourage you to seek your own story, discover your own truth, Tell that story. Shine the light on it, because I believe the truth will set us free.